My sisters were planning with all that money. But any time I inquired, they would dismiss me with ambiguous answers. Finally, work took over. Mom's birthday slipped into the back of my thoughts. Then came Saturday dinner. We all gathered at our parents' home. Mom and Dad, my sisters, Aunt Susan and her children Nathan and Daniel, my cousins, are with their families. The familiar pandemonium of a family supper surrounded us. Dad tells the same old jokes about Texas football. Mom is fretting about everyone's plates. The typical stuff. Lauren then dropped her bomb. So, she continued, pushing her grilled asparagus about her plate with studied casualness. We have finally organized everything for Mom's birthday. We're going to spend a week at Mountain Pine Resort in Colorado. The table erupted with enthusiastic discussion. Mom was beaming. Dad was already discussing visiting the slopes. And my sisters were talking about which ski lines they wanted to attempt. Why didn't anyone tell me earlier? I said, feeling excluded. I don't even have a ski suit, and there's barely any time to get one now. The table became too silent. Mother cleared her throat. And my stomach dropped before she opened her mouth. Actually, honey, she began with that tone she used to ask for a favor she knew I couldn't refuse. We were hoping you could do us all a huge favor and watch the kids while we're there. I looked at my family gathering around the dinner table, waiting for someone to chuckle. To say that all was a joke. But the stillness went on. Broken only by the faint clink of cutlery upon plates. You want me to watch the kids? I finally asked. All 5 of them? My mind began counting them off mechanically. Lauren's toddler, Noah. Isabel's baby child, Lily. Lucas and Anna are twins born to cousin Nathan. And Daniel's kid, Leo. 5 children under the age of 7. Well, you're so good with them, Mom exclaimed, as if it explained everything. They love their Aunt Ashley. I looked around the table again. I'm still hoping to see some comedy in someone's eyes. There was none. Just eager looks, waiting for my standard yes. But that's not fair, I caught myself saying. My voice sounded unusual to my own ears. I want to celebrate with everyone too, it's Mom's birthday. My middle sister, Isabella, 23F, sighed as she put down her fork. Come on, Ashley, you will be bored there anyway. It'll be noisy and crowded. Bored? I said again. How would you know if I'd be bored? Well, she said, exchanging eyes with Lauren. You're wonderful with the kids. They adore you. And let's be honest, you don't need a break from family life. I felt my chest tightening. What's that supposed to mean? Lauren jumped in. Her voice carried the condescending tone she had honed over the years. She just means that you do not have children or a husband to escape from, like the rest of us do. We need a break. You understand, right? The green beans on my plate blurred as I blinked away tears. I would not give them the gratification of watching me cry. Instead, I silently pushed back my chair and stood. Ashley. Mom's voice sounded concerned, but not enough to make me stop. Without saying anything, I grabbed my purse from the counter and headed for the door. Nobody tried to stop me. Nobody yelled out. The only thing I heard was Mom's voice floating from the dining room. Don't worry, she'll be a little offended at first, but she'll come around, she always does. As I proceeded towards my car, their voices faded behind me, already talking about ski slopes and winter gear. The evening air felt crisp against my face, helping to cleanse my mind. 10 years. 10 years of putting others first. Of being the accountable party. The reliable one. And this is what I received in return. The worst aspect wasn't the babysitting request. It was the casualness with which they believed I would agree. The way they organized this entire event without me. Using my money, my time, my vacation days. Without even asking. As if I were simply a resource to be utilized. Not one member of the family will be included. I spent half a night pacing around my downtown flat. Replaying every family meal, every holiday, every time I put aside my own needs to assist another person. The memories came flooding back. Each is taking on a new, darker meaning in light of tonight's events. At 16, I was cooking dinner as Mom helped Isabella with her homework. At 18, I turned down a spring break trip with friends to watch Lauren while our parents went on a weekend excursion. At 21, Isabella worked 2 jobs in college to help pay for her prom dress. Images kept coming, every year, sacrifice after sacrifice. Ashley, can you watch Noah for a few hours? Lauren's voice echoed in my mind. I really need a break. Ashley, would you mind taking the twins for the weekend? Nathan's familiar request came back like a broken record. Sophia's overwhelmed, and you're so good with kids. I had always answered yes. Always. Even though I had critical meetings the following day. Even though I was fatigued from my own work week. I took pride in being the reliable one, the responsible sister, the perfect daughter. I sank on my couch, the leather cool against my skin. The photo albums on my coffee table drew my attention. On family vacations, I was always the one behind the camera. Holiday celebrations in which I was constantly in the kitchen, everyone else laughed in the living room. When was the last time somebody asked me what I wanted? It's not like you need a break from family life. Lauren's words kept replaying in my mind. As if my life, job, and decisions were somehow less valid, because I was not married with children, as if all of my sacrifices meant nothing. Because they did not suit their idea of what was important. Sleep did not come easily that night. I tossed and turned, remembering how I'd worked through college with a scholarship. I was determined not to bother my parents financially. How I started my job right after graduation, helping to put both of my sisters through school. All those late evenings at work climbing the corporate ladder, sending a portion of my paycheck home to help with family expenditures. By dawn, I had made up my mind. I wasn't a confrontational person and never had been. There had to be a way to settle this quietly. To make them comprehend without generating family strife. So I did what I had always done when there was a problem. I attempted to solve it. I waited till an acceptable hour on Sunday morning to pick up my phone. Mom responded on the third ring. "Hi, Mom," I responded, my voice firm. I had been thinking about the resort trip. I actually have a solution. I will pay for a professional babysitter for all 5 children. That way, everyone may enjoy the festivities together. The silence on the other end of the telephone lasted a little too long. "That won't work, Ashley," Mom eventually stated, her voice tense. "We can't trust a stranger with our children. They are used to you." "Mom, I want to be a part of the celebration as well," I explained. "I want to be there for your birthday. I could find a great babysitter, one with excellent references." "You're not exactly a social butterfly," she interrupted me, her tone stern. "You'd probably feel uneasy with all the noise and commotion regardless. The kids will keep you occupied, and you'll enjoy spending time with them. It's ideal for everyone." Before I could react, I heard the click of the call ending. I sat there, phone still pressed against my ear. My mother's comments sank in. She had not even bothered to say goodbye. And then I realized. This was more than just a birthday excursion. It was about years of taking me for granted. Years spent expecting I'd always be available. Always answer yes. Always prioritize everyone else's needs before my own. Perhaps it was time to prove them incorrect. Update 1, I was still staring at my phone, pondering my mother's sudden hang-up. Then it buzzed again. Lauren's name flashed on the screen. "How dare you," she snarled, before I could say hello. "Mom just told me about your small proposal, considering hiring a babysitter. Are you attempting to wreck everything? Ruin everything?" I sat up taller, surprised by her harsh tone. "Why, I'm trying to find a solution that works for everyone." "We've already got a solution." Lauren's voice soared. "Everything is planned, Ashley. Everything. And now you're being totally selfish, trying to change all of our plans at the last minute." The accusation struck me like a slap. Am I being selfish? Yes, you are. We had been planning this for weeks. Everyone is excited. The resort is rented, and the activities are planned. And now you want to throw a wrench in everything because you can't simply do one thing for your family? "One thing," I began, but she interrupted me again. "What if you wreck this trip for everyone? If you spoil Mom's birthday party, don't talk to me again, Ashley. I mean it." The call went dead. I sat astonished by my baby sister's threat. Then my phone rang again, this time with incoming texts from Isabella. My hands were shaking. "Family needs to stick together," her first text stated. "Everyone helps each other out. Remember how I covered your work event last year while you were sick? The kids adore you. Why can't you just stop being resentful and focus on what is best for the family?" My fingers rushed across the keyboard as I responded. A real family does not take advantage of one another. A real family respects each other's wishes and incorporates everyone into their activities. A real family does not manipulate or guilt-trip each other. I saw the 3 dots emerge and disappear multiple times. However, no response came. That's when something inside of me changed. Something clicked in place. They requested for money without clarifying what it was for. They carefully instructed me to take time off work without mentioning the resort. They casually mentioned their plans at dinner, as if everything were already set in stone. They had planned this all along. While I worked late nights, while I was babysitting their children, while I was being the ideal daughter and sister, They were quietly planning this vacation. They used my money, set up my schedule, and planned to dump 5 children on me. Not a single word was spoken. And now that I was not following their script, they tried every manipulation strategy they could think of. Guilt, threats, emotional blackmail. All to force me back into the box they'd made for me. Something peculiar happens when you finally see through the haze of manipulation. Suddenly, everything is crystal clear. I felt lighter than I have in years. The shame that had been dragging me down was replaced by something else: determination. I opened my laptop and began searching. Within an hour, I'd reserved a beachside hotel in Florida. Not too fancy, but it had a balcony that overlooked the ocean. And was within walking distance of anything I might require. I even purchased a first-class aircraft ticket. I had lots of money. Since I would not be skiing. The following several days at work were remarkably tranquil. My family stopped phoning and texting. They presumably believed I was at home, getting ready for a week of childcare. Consider buying additional snacks and arranging activities. This concept made me grin. I packed my beach clothing and a new swimsuit. Going on a tropical trip in the middle of winter? My coworker Janet inquired after seeing me check the Florida weather forecast. Sometimes you need to do something unexpected, I said. I was surprised at how amazing it felt to say those things aloud. The morning of my flight, I took one final look around my apartment. I'd cleaned everything scrupulously out of habit, I suppose. The refrigerator was empty, the windows were properly locked, everything is in excellent order, as always. Except for this time. I would not be available to answer any desperate phone calls for childcare. Aunt Susan's last message appeared as I was headed to the airport. The kids are really delighted to spend time with their favorite aunt. Do not disappoint them. I felt a sense of remorse. But then I recalled, they all sat there during dinner, smiling and nodding, while basically excluding me from my own mother's birthday party. The guilt subsided. Nathan provided a thorough calendar of the twins' medication schedules and allergies. Sophia responded with a list of their favorite eats and activities. Daniel reminded me that Leo requires a particular blanket for naps. Everyone assumed I was going along with their plan, despite my obvious resistance. As I waited at my gate, more texts came in. We're counting on you, Ashley. The kids are already packed. Don't forget Noah needs his stuffed dinosaur for bedtime. I've left detailed instructions about Lily's feeding schedule. I shut off my phone and put it in my bag. No social media, no email. There's no family turmoil. Just me, the beach, and a full week of freedom. Looking out the plane window as we took off. I thought of the turmoil that will emerge tomorrow morning. When they showed up to my empty flat. Part of me felt horrible for the children. They were completely innocent throughout this. But, perhaps it was time for their parents to step up. And become actual parents. Rather than depending on their convenient single sister, as the default babysitter. For the first time in my adult years, I was choosing myself. And surprisingly, it felt right. As the plane rose higher, Austin slipped behind the clouds. And with that, the weight of everybody's expectations. I was finally free. Update 2. When I stepped out of the airport, the Florida air welcomed me with open arms. The palm trees swung with the air. Even from there, I could smell the salt of the ocean. My hotel suite was even nicer than the photographs. The balcony provided an excellent view of the limitless blue horizon. And I could hear the waves smashing on the shore. The first afternoon, I strolled barefoot on the beach, allowing the warm sand to squish between my toes. When was the last time I had done something like this? When was the last time I did something simply for myself? I swam in the hotel pool. Read a book without interruptions. We ate dinner at a small seashore restaurant. Nobody needed me to cut their food or clean up messes. I watched the sunset from my balcony. Sipping a glass of wine, without a single care for nighttime or morning schedules. My final morning in Florida, I relished my last minutes of tranquility. I knew I'd have to switch my phone back on eventually. Face the chaos I had left behind. But I wasn't expecting what I found. When my phone eventually started up, it started buzzing nonstop. Messages. Voicemails. I missed calls. There are hundreds of them. The timestamps showed they started exactly 1 week ago, early in the morning. My hands trembled slightly as I began to browse through them. The first messages came from Lauren. Where are you? We're outside your house. Then Emma. Ashley, open the door. The kids are getting restless? Nathan. Hey, we brought Lucas and Anna like planned. Are you home? Daniel. Ashley, what's going on? Leo's asking for his aunt. As I read through the messages, I could see the scene perfectly. My sisters and cousins stand outside my empty house, with 5 confused kids. Their suitcases are packed for the resort. Their meticulously crafted plans are crashing around them. The tone of the communications altered rapidly. From bewilderment to panic. Ashley, this isn't funny. Where are you? Pick up your phone. What are we supposed to do with the kids? You can't just disappear like this. Then rage set in. Lauren's messages became nasty. You selfish witch? How could you do this to us? Isabella wasn't doing any better. I can't believe you're so immature. You ruined Mom's birthday. Aunt Susan's messages caused me to cringe. I had never seen her use that type of language before. Mom's messages began later in the day. I'm very disappointed in you, Ashley. I never thought you'd be so selfish after everything we've done for you. Dad, who rarely texted, sent only one message. Your mother is crying. I hope you're happy with yourself. The voicemails were terrible. I could hear the rage, disappointment, and accusations in their voices. Messages from extended family members I had not spoken with in months suddenly appeared. All of them condemned my actions. You've always been so reliable. How could you do this to your own family? Those poor children. You've ruined everything. I sat in my calm hotel room, reading message after message, finding out what my relatives thought of me. I eventually quit being their handy solution. The words they used. They nicknamed me by these names. They made assumptions about my character. It was like meeting a completely new family, one who has been hiding behind artificial grins, and casually asks for favors. Without addressing any of them, I packed my bags and went to the airport. It was time to head home. But I wasn't the same Ashley who had gone a week before. Ashley might have apologized. You might have felt guilty. Perhaps they sought to make amends to everyone. But Ashley was gone. I had just finished unpacking my beach clothing. I heard a violent beating on my front door. Before I ever got to it, I heard a key spinning in the lock. I gave my mother an emergency key years ago, just in case. They rushed in like an angry storm. Mom leads the charge. Lauren and Isabella are surrounding her flanks. All of them had red faces and furious eyes. The serene mood I had developed in Florida vanished abruptly. Update 3. Do you have any idea what you've done? Lauren yelled and stepped forward. You ruined everything. Everything. I stood my ground. Watching them unleash their rage in my living room, the identical living room where I babysat their children on numerous occasions, I had canceled my own plans to accommodate their crises. Where I had always been the dependable one. Nathan and Daniel refused to stay with the kids, Isabella spit out, referring to their spouses. They both suddenly had important business to take care of. So Lauren had to stay home with all 5 children while we went to the resort. She missed Mom's birthday because of you. The whole trip was ruined, Mom exclaimed, her voice rising. No one could enjoy themselves. All we did was discuss how you betrayed us. How did you let everyone down? Your father couldn't even ski correctly, he was so upset. They continued their tirade. Speaking over one another, each seeking to outperform the others. They expressed their disappointment and indignation. The longer they talked, the more ludicrous everything seemed. Until something within me broke. But not in the way they had expected. I began laughing. My chuckle sliced right through their charges. They halted in the middle of a sentence. They looked at me as if I had lost my mind. What's so funny? Mom demanded, her cheeks growing crimson. What could possibly be funny about this situation? I brushed away tears of laughter from my eyes. Don't you see how ridiculous this is? Do you really not understand how absurd you all sound right now? Absurd? Isabella exclaimed. You secretly planned this entire trip, I interjected, my laughing decreasing but my voice remaining calm. You opted to watch your children without asking me. You grabbed my money and told me to take time off work. And then just thought I'd go along with your intentions. Now that everything has fallen apart due to your assumptions, you're here calling me a villain. But you've always helped before, Mom remarked, her voice smaller and perplexed.